Welcome back. I'm Patty Grabeau. If you just tuned in, joining me today is attorney and CPA Dennis Sullivan with the Estate Planning and Asset Protection Law Center. Mr. Sullivan is a contributing author to 4 books on estate, elder law, and asset planning protection. He's also created a trustee manual for family trustees, which provides instructions on the responsibilities of being a trustee. You were talking about how families have to spend their savings before they receive assistance to pay for nursing home costs. Could you please tell us what families can keep?
Sure. Well, it's kind of a common misconception that you actually have to go and spend everything to a level of $2,000 for a single person or about $110,000 for a married couple. So actually there's ways to protect things so that you don't have to go and spend things down to that level. So there's quite a big opportunity of planning in addition to that.
Now, what about the most important asset people seem to have, which is their home? Is that an exempt asset?
Well, the home is technically considered an exempt asset, but the problem is people should not be lulled into a false sense of security. First of all, it needs to be, in Massachusetts, under $750,000 in equity value. If it's over that, it won't qualify. But the problem is, if someone gets too sick to go home, or there's a spouse no longer living at home, the home will have to be sold out from under the person. There'd be a lien placed on the home, and the home would be sold when they get too sick to go home, or if at the time they pass away. So that's a common misconception, and that's a good exemption. If people don't have anything left to do and didn't plan in advance, they could rely on that, but it's not the only way to protect assets.
But the thing is, most people wouldn't even know about that. They wouldn't even know that the limitation as far as the worth of their home.
Well, that's right. That's why it's important to go over the rules and the limitations. We do that in a workshop setting so they understand the rules, how they work, and how that their affairs can be structured so that things would be protected. It reminds me of a client helped a number of years ago that we'd helped him over the years with a trust-based plan and tax savings. And he came in and he said, geez, Dennis, we're not getting any younger. I've got certain aches and pains, and the home's increasing in value, so what can we do? So we're able to help him with a protective trust so that wouldn't happen in his case.
That's great.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah,
that must feel good when you can do things like that.
Yeah. And also, I've got another client that thought that they should transfer the home to their children. But again, when I asked them if they did, when I mentioned that if they did that, the children were going to be faced with a tax liability of about $150,000. And they said no, they didn't want to do that. In that particular case, they understood then that not only was a tax problem of $150,000 if they transferred the home to the children, but the other problem is that would have triggered a gift tax as well. But the worst problem of all is they'd lose control completely of the home, and if the children either get divorced, had a lawsuit, or claims of creditors, they'd lose the value of the home. So because a home is usually the most valuable asset for clients, better to protect that, as this client did. They kept the home in a trust, and they're glad they did, because when they sold it a number of years later, they benefited from the tax-free ability to sell the home, versus if the children had done it, it would have been a significant cost. So that's one of the areas that we can help people with, understand how it all fits together. So not only things are protected for themselves and the spouse at home, but taxes are minimized, and eventually they'll leave a larger legacy for the children and grandchildren.
Yeah, and we don't think of it that way. We think we'll give it to them, and that's the best thing to do, and then it's given to them, and we don't think ahead. We plan to fail. We don't fail to plan.
Well, that's right.
We fail to plan, not plan to fail.
Well, call it what you will, but there's a lot of common misconceptions out there, and people will hear things from friends or family members, or in that case, their children, to mention that. But we do try to help people understand the planning options, and especially in 2010 with all the tax changes and concerns about people living longer, it's very important to think about different planning options so that they're getting the most out of their home or IRA retirement plans. So it's important people living a longer life to get the most out of everything, so that they're protected, their spouse at home's protected, If there is a nursing home, if there's a concern of costs along those lines down the road, they're going to qualify for a state and federal payment program. Result of that is clients are able to have better control of their home, life savings, IRAs, and leave a larger legacy to children.
So there are other options available to people to protect their homes and other assets for themselves and for their children and their grandchildren.
Yeah, there are certainly a number of options. We've actually got a unique 19-point trust, estate, and asset protection guide that goes through 19 of the common issues that we see in reviewing existing plans. So we'll go through those. A couple of those in particular drill down on whether people have a plan to protect homes and other assets from increasing nursing home costs. So we'd like to go through that at the workshops that people can register for on the website at estateplanandassetprotection.com or call the 800 number.
That's great. And now let's talk a little bit about a living trust. Will a living trust protect my assets from nursing home costs?
No, unfortunately there's too much control that you'll have over your assets with a living trust. You've got full access to income and principal anytime you want it. It's fully amendable and revocable. So living trust, which a lot of people have, just provides no protection whatsoever from increasing nursing home costs.
And what about protective trust?
Well, a protective trust, it's a customized trust that we've developed that it's got particular terms in there that will enable a family to protect assets and sometimes income for a couple for the long term. So it's a customized trust that people have as an option that they can put homes and other assets to that if they're concerned, especially for effective long-term planning, it's a great option for people to consider because they're still able to sell the home tax-free up to $500,000 for a married couple or $250,000 for a single person. So it's a great opportunity.
I want to talk about that more in the next segment. How can people get in hold of you?
Well, they can contact us directly from the website at estateplanandassetprotection.com, or they can call the office, especially if it's emergency planning. They can call us at 781-237-2815. But to register for a workshop or to learn about the 19-point checkup, they can call 800-964-4295.
Sounds good to me. Hold your thoughts again.
Okay.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Ask the Lawyer.
But our approach has always been one keyed in on education, and people really appreciate the value in seeing the opportunities to protect most important things for family, the homes, spouses, life savings, and leave things for children and grandchildren.